From now on, no one touches you. The emergency room doors burst open at exactly 2:15 in the morning. Sarah Mitchell had been a nurse at Chicago Memorial Hospital for 3 years, and she had learned to read the energy of every entrance. This one was different. The air itself seemed to change as 4 men in dark suits carried in a 5th man, his white dress shirt soaked crimson with blood. "Gunshot wound to the abdomen," Sarah announced calmly, though her heart hammered against her ribs. She had seen plenty of trauma cases before, but something about these men made her instincts scream danger. The wounded man's eyes found hers. They were dark, intense, and even through his pain, they held an unsettling clarity. It was handsome in a sharp, dangerous way, with dark hair and a jawline that looked carved from stone. His suit, despite the blood, was clearly expensive. Everything about him spoke of wealth and power. "Everyone out," one of the men in suits barked at the other medical staff. "That's not how this works," Sarah said firmly, pulling on her gloves. "If you want him to live, you let me do my job." The wounded man raised his hand slightly, a gesture that somehow commanded immediate silence. "Let her work," he said, his voice strained but authoritative. Sarah had treated gang members before, criminals of all kinds. Chicago's South Side didn't discriminate when it came to violence. But this was different. The way these men moved, the quality of their clothes, the cold professionalism in their eyes, this wasn't street crime. This was organized. She focused on her patient, pushing aside every instinct that told her to run. The bullet had entered just below his ribs. She worked quickly, assessing the damage, starting in 4, preparing him for surgery. "What's your name?" the man asked through gritted teeth. "Sarah," she replied, not looking up from her work. "And you need to save your strength." "Sarah," he repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "I'm going to remember you." Something in his tone made her pause for just a second. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The surgery took 4 hours. Sarah assisted Dr. Chin, one of the best trauma surgeons in the city. The bullet had missed vital organs by mere millimeters. Their patient was extraordinarily lucky, or perhaps just too stubborn to die. When it was over, Sarah checked on him during her rounds. He was awake, his dark eyes tracking her movement across the room. "You saved my life," he said simply. "That's my job," Sarah replied, checking his vitals. "Though your friends made it complicated. They're protective." It paused. "My name is Vincent Moretti." Sarah's hand froze on her clipboard. Even she had heard that name. Vincent Moretti ran half of Chicago's Underworld. It wasn't just dangerous, he was one of the most powerful crime bosses in the city. "I don't need to know your name," she said quietly. "Yes, you do." His voice was firm. "Because from this moment on, you're under my protection." "I don't need your protection," Sarah said, meeting his gaze. "I just need you to heal so you can leave my hospital." Vincent smiled, a real smile that transformed his harsh features. "You're brave. Foolishly brave." Over the next 3 days, Sarah couldn't escape him. Even when she wasn't assigned to his room, she found excuses to check on him. She told herself it was professional concern, but that wasn't entirely true. Vincent Moretti was intelligent, well-read, and surprisingly thoughtful. He asked about her life, her dreams, why she became a nurse. "I wanted to help people," she told him during one late-night check. "I grew up in a neighborhood where people didn't always make it to the hospital in time." He wanted to be different. "You are different," Vincent said, his eyes serious. "Most people look at me and see a monster. You look at me and see a patient." "Everyone deserves care," Sarah said simply. On the 4th night, everything changed. Sarah was walking to her car in the hospital parking garage when 3 men appeared from between the vehicles. They weren't Vincent's men, she had learned to recognize his people by now. "You the nurse taking care of Moretti?" one of them asked, stepping closer. Fear flooded through her, but Sarah stood her ground. "I treat a lot of patients." Wrong answer. The man reached for her, and Sarah knew with terrible certainty that these men had come to hurt her, to use her as a message to Vincent. But they never touched her. From the shadows, Vincent's men materialized like ghosts. The confrontation was swift and brutal. Sarah closed her eyes, hearing scuffles and muffled grunts, and when she opened them again, the three men were being dragged away. Marco, Vincent's second-in-command, approached her carefully. "Miss Mitchell, Mr. Moretti wants to see you. Now." Her hands were shaking as Marco drove her back to the hospital. But instead of going to Vincent's room, they went to a private conference room. Vincent was there, against all medical advice, standing by the window in a clean suit. The bandages were visible beneath his shirt, but he stood straight and strong. "You shouldn't be out of bed," Sarah said automatically. "They came for you because of me," Vincent said, turning to face her. His expression was intense, almost tortured. "The Castellano family. They wanted to send me a message." "I'm fine," Sarah said, though her voice trembled. Vincent crossed the room in 3 strides and stopped just in front of her. "You're fine because I had men watching you every second since you saved my life. But this won't stop. As long as I'm in this war, you're a target." "Then I'll be careful," Sarah said. "No." Vincent's hand lifted, hovering near her face but not touching. "From now on, no one touches you. Do you understand? You're under my protection whether you want it or not." "I don't want to be part of your world," Sarah whispered. "You already are," Vincent said softly. "The moment you chose to save my life instead of walking away, you became part of it." Tears stained Sarah's eyes. "I took an oath. He couldn't just let you die." "I know." Vincent's voice was gentle now. "And that's exactly why I can't let anything happen to you." 6 months later, Sarah still worked at Chicago Memorial. But her life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. Vincent had been true to his word. No one bothered her. Not the rival families, not anyone. She had become untouchable in Chicago's underworld, the nurse who had saved Vincent Moretti's life. She saw Vincent sometimes, though not in the hospital. It would appear at her favorite coffee shop, or the bookstore where she spent her Saturday mornings. They would talk, about everything and nothing, about life and choices and the gray areas between right and wrong. "I'm leaving the life," Vincent told her one evening over coffee. "Transitioning everything to legitimate business. It will take time, maybe years, but I'm done with the violence." "Why?" Sarah asked, though she thought she knew. Vincent looked at her with those dark, intense eyes. "Because you looked at me and saw someone worth saving. You want to be the man you saw, not the monster everyone else knows." Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. It was the first time she had touched him since that night in the hospital. "Then that's who you'll become," she said simply. Outside, Chicago's lights glittered like stars. Inside, 2 people from different worlds held on to each other, finding something neither had expected, hope. And in the end, that was worth saving too.